me talk a lot about omnibus bills over the last couple months and how dangerous they are and what a terrible way they are to govern. And I thought I should do a little explanation as to what exactly I'm talking about, because right now we're going through all of these omnibus budget bills this whole week. That's what all the committee meetings are about, is going through these omnibus bills and the Frankensteins that they have come to be. And by Frankensteins, of course, if it isn't obvious, what I mean is they take bits and parts and pieces and they smash it all together and make this monstrosity of a bill. Now, our state constitution, Article 4, Section 17, requires that all bills only cover one single subject. But frankly, both parties for years now have only applied that constitutional requirement when it's convenient for them. Here's an example of how that is playing out right now in these committees. I just went through one committee's omnibus bill and it had 102 changes to state law. 102, all shoved into one bill. So here's an example of, well, I've got to 70. I don't have enough big enough whiteboard here to take the example to get to 102. Well, I guess I could do this. There's 102. There's 102 bills or changes to state statute. And what should happen is every single one of these bills, there should be a binary choice on each one of these changes to state statute. So Bill 1, we should be voting individually on that bill. Just like I forced the issue on the vote of the PPP program a couple weeks ago, when I've been warning you that they're going to take this bill, politicize it by throwing it into an omnibus bill, which is exactly what the Democrats did in tax committee yesterday. They just threw it in the omnibus bill, just like I've been warning you they were going to do. We should be voting on a standalone issue. That's the vote that I forced on the House floor a couple weeks ago when the Democrats voted against their own bill. We should be having those votes individually. This bill, this bill, this bill, this change the state statute. Instead, what they're doing, and this is the danger of it, we're not having individual votes on these issues. They're rolling all of this into one yes or no vote on everything. That's a terrible way to govern. There's no accountability. You know, all of these first 70 bills could be horrible ideas that would be catastrophic to our state. But maybe Bill 102, maybe that's a good bill, you know? That's a good one. But they're going to package all this, and most Republicans, when this finally comes for a vote, probably in May, we're going to say, well, that's unconstitutional. So we're going to vote against this. But here's what they do. Now, let's be honest, both parties do this. The Democrats are going to say, well, you voted against this then. They're going to cherry pick that one thing in the bill that was really good. And of course, in the tax omnibus bill, it's going to be federal conformity or tax relief for the PPP participants and the people who took unemployment benefits because of COVID layoffs. They're going to politicize this. We might as well not even call it Bill 102. Let's just call this PPP, because that's what they're going to do. And they're going to say, oh, these terrible Republicans, they voted against small businesses because they voted against this PPP bill, when in reality we were voting against the terrible practice of bundling all of this legislation into one bill and forcing one binary vote on hundreds and hundreds of different changes to state tax law. That's a terrible way to govern, but that is 100% what they're doing right now. And of course, what I've been advocating for the last several years is breaking these things back down into individual votes and just adhering to the constitutionality requirement that they cherry pick every now and then on the floor. And it boggles my mind that they have the audacity of calling out germaneness when it's at their leisure, when it's convenient for them. Yesterday in the tax committee meeting, when we were going through their omnibus bill, they actually had a section of the bill they just called miscellaneous. Just miscellaneous. So all the leftover stuff. But yet they're going to say that that's germane. When, of course, if it was Republicans saying it, they would say it was not germane. These people are frauds. They are liars. They do terrible things. They use these terrible ways to govern to cram stuff down your throat. And do not doubt me that it is intentional that they take these sorts of poison pills and they throw them into these bills to politicize them, to tee up the 2022 election. That's what they do. These are the political games that I've been talking about for years that I refuse to participate in. Not only do I refuse to participate in them, I'm going to expose them to you because you need to know about these so you can hold these people accountable. And perhaps worst of all, this is exactly how leadership buys off legislators. By saying, well, what are you looking for? What is it going to take to get your support? We all saw this happen with Obamacare over a decade ago. They find out what somebody wants and they throw it in this omnibus bill as a way to buy that person's vote. If we are ever going to restore any levels of accountability in St. Paul, this is the process that must come to an end. We should be breaking these things down, forcing individual votes on these issues, as I've been trying to do on the House floor here for the last several months. The way we make that happen is we put more principled lawmakers in St. Paul. Whether those people are Republicans or Democrats, frankly, as long as they're willing to follow Article 4, Section 17, the single subject clause, that alone would be so incredibly powerful to restore accountability at the Capitol. Because if legislators, again, whether Republican or Democrat, refuse to vote for these giant monstrosity of omnibus bills, then the bills die. And it forces leadership of both parties to break these things down and pass them in a way that their members are willing to pass them. Now, on a somewhat different topic, but yet related, what I would encourage you all to do is reach out to your state senators. They're supposed to be the backstop. I've heard state senators say that they're the linebackers. They're the one that have our back here in this legislative session. And demand that they do not permit a budget to go through without first ending the governor's emergency powers. That is our last bargaining chip on the table, is to say we are not approving a budget because the Senate has this ability. Do not approve a budget until the emergency powers are brought to an end. All of the states around us have lifted their COVID restrictions. Texas did it a month ago, and they have a fraction of the cases on a per capita basis that Minnesota has. It's time to bring this to an end. Please call your state senators. Tell them no budget unless emergency powers are done. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you out there.